to talk about existing on Book Talk in this moment, my existence on Book Talk in this moment, maybe our collective existence on Book Talk in this moment, how we're moving through what it means to be like book talkers when something as grotesque as genocide is taking place. I was not just in therapy, and I was like talking about this a lot in therapy because it's something I've really grappled with in the past year. Like, who am I on this space and on this platform that I have built mostly around books? And I'm on Twitter, and I've been on Twitter for a very long time about politics. Like, my Twitter is almost exclusively political, and has been for a really long time. I mean, I post personal stuff, but the primary audience for my Twitter is other people who are engaged politically. And the primary audience of my TikTok are people who read books and love books. And again, I was in therapy and talking about this, and in navigating what it means to be here, it's so much more complicated, I think, than I want it to be. I think I keep looking for this easy, objective, moral answer, and I don't think it exists. Because I've changed so much the way that I've existed on Book Talk in the past year, but still, like, things happen and I want to talk about them, and then I'm like, do I talk about them? Like, is this the right space? Do I have a right? Do I deserve to do this? Because I want to make it clear, whatever else you think about this video, whatever else you take away from this video, I don't think any of us are doing enough. Not a single one of us is doing enough to stop genocide. Nothing any of us can do is enough unless we've like fully risked our lives. I want to make that clear. Me posting about Palestine on TikTok, that's not a sacrifice. That's like a moral duty. And a bare minimum one, I think. And so in acknowledging that for myself, that I think that this is a moral responsibility that all of us have online to be talking about this genocide and sharing and trying to educate and making it clear where we stand and encouraging other people to do the same and to act and to learn. I think like I'm building such a resentment towards other people who maybe aren't doing that, but then it's a constant navigation of like what is right, like truly. And again, I don't think that there's an answer, because there's certain authors who I will never talk about again. Authors on my shelves who have done, not even just in relation to Palestine, like things that I think are reprehensible that I have no interest in platforming on this space. And there are authors who I love and who have done so much and have been so vocal and so wonderful, like, you know, Sally Rooney. Sally Rooney is somebody that I will probably always talk about on my Book Talk, because she is not just a phenomenal author whose writing I adore, but she is someone who has such principles that come through in the way she speaks and the way she writes. There is no disputing where Sally Rooney falls on the topic of Palestine. And then there are people who, I'm wearing this shirt from Meeting Emily Henry. Like, you can see her books in the background. I think I come back to her because I was the Emily Henry girl for so long. Who have done and said little to nothing. But it's like, and I don't think that there's an excuse for doing or saying little to nothing. I do think that there are personal circumstances in people's lives that make them change the way that they engage with online and engage with like their fan base. I do still think that everybody has a moral duty. I do still think we all have a responsibility, no matter what is happening to us personally over the course of the past year. I think that there is some level of like, you have to do something. That something can look different, but like there must be something. And again, in navigating how I talk about books and the things that I want to talk about, because they're like, right now, I think I want to make a video talking about Emily Henry's new cover and like the description of the book. And every time I want to talk about something that isn't directly connected to Palestine, I just feel so gross. And it's like, do I deserve to do this? Do I have a right to do this? And it's challenging, particularly because I think that there are a lot of people who are looking to me for some kind of guidance. And like, I'm navigating this just as much as other people are navigating it. But I would also argue that I am probably the person in the book space who is most being looked to and looked at about this specific thing. That's not like ego talking. I think I'm just, by the sheer virtue of being, I think, the largest Palestinian book talker, like largest following on Book Talk as a Palestinian. I think that that's just like the name of the game. People are looking at and to me. And most of this grappling, to be clear, is being done in private. I don't think I'm going to come on here and like do this again. But it is worth maybe acknowledging for myself and for other people that like this is a constant process of trying to figure out what is right and what feels right. And it shifts constantly. It is constantly a changing target, a moving target. Because I'm like, at one time when things are really truly grotesque, it feels like, what else can we talk about? Like, and what else exists besides this? And then there are moments of like shifting capacity where I need to give my brain the smallest bit of relief from the grief. And I don't know. The challenge for me is, even in thinking about like authors, like what I've done for the most part in the past year is I've limited myself to talking about authors who've spoken up about Palestine, or authors who are BIPOC authors. But even that has flaws, right? There are people who've spoken up about Palestine who went on to do things that were, I think, shitty. Chloe Lisa, apparently, I never saw, but apparently did say things about Palestine, and then went on to contribute to the pylon of Zach Weber and say things that I think were reprehensible, move in such a way that I find to be really spineless and cowardly, and ultimately mired in more harm to Palestinians than any good toward any other group of people. And I think that kind of respectability politics is a lot more cowardly and a lot more harmful than somebody remaining silent or only sharing a donation link or what have you. And another example is, there was an author who donated to the Gaza book auction who went on to be one of the only 2 people to publicly and positively engage with a burner account made specifically to talk shit about me, and by extension hurt what I was trying to accomplish in relation to Palestinian rights and the humanization of Palestinians. So like, and that author is a person of color. And there are plenty, like a lot of the BIPOC authors that I've been talking about haven't said anything or done anything or like posted it so much as a donation link to Palestine. So I'm like, where does that line exist between what is acceptable and understandable or good or right in this moment? And I think it's tough. I think there's no right answer. I think I'm grappling with this. I hope other people are grappling with it. That's really why I'm posting this. I think like I want to encourage us to think more about the ways that we're engaging online, because we should not be moving the way that we were moving. We should not be engaging in blind hyperconsumption. We should not be getting on here to just yell about books without any consideration for the authors, the content, who's watching, what we're doing, what systems we're engaging with. And it's not that I think that you can't be like excited and talk about books and also be posting about Palestine. The problem is that I think a lot of people have kind of pigeonholed themselves into only talking about or yelling about really like effusively books that they love, and they don't want to touch anything else. And I don't know, maybe we should just, I'm encouraging us to think of ourselves as broader than that. I will continue to obviously talk about Palestine, but I think like I want to try to further navigate book stuff, partially honestly because I need money. Like I don't know, like I want, partially for the relief and partially because I need money, and like I don't have a job right now. I was fired from a racist workplace, a racist bookstore. So it's like, I don't know. A lot of this is, again, I'm trying to grapple with what feels right and good, and doing this one thing in public maybe will be useful to somebody else.